So it's a great pleasure to be here today, and it's an honor as well to share with you what we have learned about unlocking collaboration across 89 countries and improving exchange of ideas by 10 times to deliver innovative medicines to 12 million patients worldwide. It worked for us, it may not work for you. But we hope that this serves as inspiration for you to see what is possible to be achieved with minimum tools and change to people's practices. Let me start in explain why for us collaboration beyond borders or boundaries is so important. Meet Sari. Sari lives in Indonesia, Manado, and she's undergoing treatment for cancer. The prognoses are good, she's very hopeful, but the results are uncertain. And besides a cure, there is only one thing that Sari wants more than anything else. It's more time, more quality time with her loved ones in the comfort of her home. But Sari is still undergoing treatment, so every time she has to go to the treatment center is a 5 hours door-to-door trip. Every visit to the treatment center is an enormous burden for her and for her family. It's a full day away from her kids, and she cannot go alone. She's very debilitated after the treatment. So her sister usually accompanies her. And because of that, her sister also had to give up her work for the moment. At home is their mother taking care of the kids. So imagining going through these every other week, long trips with pain, and wondering how many days you still have left with your family. Every trip to the hospital, it's an enormous price to pay for Sari and her family, financially and emotionally. Hundreds of millions of patients, caregivers, and families face the same choices on a regular basis around the world, and you probably know someone going through similar dilemma right now. The worst is that home-based treatment is not widely accepted, and the skills to transfer treatment from hospital to home are not widely distributed. So even if there was a therapy, it would provide little relief for Sari and other patients in underdeveloped countries. But there is hope. So meet Ian. Ian is not his real picture and not his real name, but he's a colleague of us working in Singapore as a customer-facing team member. Singapore is considered a center of excellence for home-based treatment. So Ian has a relatively easy life. If a therapy would have to be introduced in Singapore, it's a widely accepted practice. So the learning curve for healthcare practitioners is minimal. But Ian also has a vision. He wants to help colleagues in Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand to elevate the skills and capabilities of healthcare practitioners and hospital administrators on home-based care treatment. Improving the conditions of treatment in these countries will improve the life of millions of patients like Sari. But Ian doesn't have authority over any budget. He has no authority over headcount, and he has no power to allocate people to projects, especially in other countries. All he has is a vision, and all he can do is to go inspire other people to join the effort. But Ian does that. After reaching out to several colleagues and many one-to-one conversations, 7 of them decided to collaborate across countries with one single objective: to improve the skills and capabilities of healthcare practitioners and hospital administrators about home-based treatment in Southeast Asia. In practical terms, their idea was to get Singaporean doctors, nurses, and hospital administrators to go in the neighboring countries and share the best practices about home-based treatment. So they start working hard on doing that. They convince doctors, they convince nurses, and they convince hospital administrators to do that. And they start getting funds from different cost centers inside the company, counting on allies inside the organization. So for 2 years, they navigate the bureaucracy of the company, and they face the external challenge to improve the skills and capabilities in 8 countries. So now patients like Sari can benefit from home-based treatment because the team took the effort to shift mental models, to change habits, and to remove fear about home-based treatment. So this story is actually real, and I wonder if you have a choice, how many teams like these would you like to have in your organization? So we thought the same. We wanted to have as many teams as possible, and we started with those questions. How many teams like these that Ian assembled exist in the organization? How many people like Ian that had no authority, no line management role, but yet they have a vision to improve patients' lives and customer service, and they work towards that vision by inspiring other people to join the effort and work on the margins of the organization to make that vision reality. We wanted to understand how many people were in the center of collaborative groups like Ian, or like Ian building bridges between teams and countries. And how many people were there inspiring and energizing those ideas to become reality. So to answer those questions, we reached out to the organization and we conducted an active organization network analysis in 89 countries involving 13,000 employees. That opened the eyes for who we should work with and how we should work with. We found also that most of the employees were spending more than half of their time, 55% of their time, collaborating cross-functional teams. They were working more or less 5 to 7 projects simultaneously. But 82% of this team's composition or this team's work was not visible in the organizational chart or any information system in the organization. Which means that the reality on how people working or how they are collaborating, with whom and what they are doing, was not reflect what we see in the organizational structure. We also found that the path for collaboration was not through line managers. Teams, individuals reach out directly to other colleagues, like Ian just did. We also learned that the collaboration that was happening across countries, between countries, were only 5%. That means that most of the innovations and solutions that were not being leveraged across markets. So countries that did not have access to skills and capabilities, like the neighboring countries from Singapore, were not benefit from other colleagues that had those skills and capabilities, or had access to networks in their countries with better access to technology and resources. So 2 teams of volunteers, of those mapped in the network analysis, recommended by their own colleagues as central connectors or boundary spanners or energizers, volunteered to define the conditions, to improve these conditions of cross-border collaboration. And after a few sessions of work and a lot of ideation sessions, they came up with what were these principles to help people to find each other directly, and how this could be rolled out or implemented using the minimum tools we have and without changing people practices, because usually it's super hard to do that. The principle it's actually simple, it's visibility. And what the guidelines that they actually diffused through the organization was that every colleague that had an idea or a vision to generate impact or to bring benefits to patients or change the lives of patients should be made visible so that others can be inspired and join the effort as well. And collaboration becomes more effective when skills and capabilities needed for those initiatives are made visible as well. So humans have heuristic models to decide who they work with. But as we start moving away from our close connections and friends, the teams indicated that we need a different reference. And the skills and capabilities were the best reference that they thought we could start with. Therefore, all employees also make the skills and capabilities visible to everyone as well. And finally, the self-managed teams that will be assembled need to make the progress visible to everyone and the learners as well. So other teams can benefit by either copying or getting inspired by those learnings and those progress. And most important, the teams need to take the time to stop and reflect on what they have learned so then they can improve. So we didn't change the HR systems. We didn't introduce any new people practice. We didn't set up a governance structure or a management structure to take care of all these. All these principles were rolled out by the teams, the volunteers, and we start to make everything visible. We actually start using the tools we have in the organization. We started with the talent marketplace that was rolled out a couple of years before and was not being used. The only thing we did is reframe from talent marketplace to opportunity marketplace, because we learned that people were twice more likely to join a project team than to join a rotation, which usually was a half-baked job description. In the opportunity marketplace, people found that they would be joining a team in a quest, in a mission, with a limited duration and with a clear objective. After the initial 2 months or 3 months, the participation in the opportunity marketplace doubled until it reached its plateau on the 12th month of 25% of the employees. So we still have a lot of things we should do to unlock this collaboration, but the 25% participation has been achieved with not much change on the structures we have. But the most impressive is not the number of people participating in the opportunity marketplace. It's the results that it generates and the insights we also can gather from that participation. The video I'm about to show you, it's a little bit futuristic. Looks like, just because I geeked out a little bit on the special effects, but it's absolute reality. It's based on the data that we can extract today from the opportunity marketplace and we make visible to all employees in the company. So remember, we start with only 5% collaboration across countries in a hub and spoke model without any visibility about teams composition and collaboration across markets or even inside the markets, inside the countries. Now we shifted for a full visibility of collaboration between 3,000 employees in 89 countries. Every dot in this chart is a person. And every line connecting these dots is a project where they collaborate with. So now, boundary spanners and experts like Ian are no longer hidden in the organizational chart. Because people can find who is working which project and who to contact, collaboration improved by 10 times to 57% of all efforts across markets. So these are 800 self-managed teams that formed themselves in 14 communities, working in shared objectives for patients and customers. So we estimated a saving of 360 million Swiss francs, of US dollars equivalent, just by reduced attrition costs, reduced the expenses in international assignment or rotation, and reduced expenses on external contractors for short-term projects. And because everyone now can find and know who to collaborate with, they can reach out for faster exchange of ideas. So Ian decided to help the neighboring countries because he felt safe to acting. Isn't because we define a structure, or we revolutionized the HR systems, or we completely revamped the people's practices. We still space to do that, still good things to do, which we would like to have 1/3 of PwC technology that are coming up for opportunity marketplace. But we didn't think that was the critical point to start. All we did is actually to make clear that it was permitted to reach out directly to other colleagues to collaborate without gatekeepers. It's networks of unseen connections that lead to transformation and change. And by making those connections visible to everyone, we help them to generate impactful change. And if we want to start thinking about the new futures of work, we need to start thinking about networks. I hope this was inspirational enough for you to join us in shaping a more human future organizations. Thank you very much.